Welcome to our Cavs Roundtable here on cleveland.com. I'm your host, Chris Fedor, and I've got my partners, Joe Vardon and Chris Haynes with me as we get you all set for opening night, Thursday, against the New York Knicks. Should be an interesting and fun season for the Cavs. If you have any questions, any comments, go to the comments section at the bottom of the post. You can leave those throughout. We'll make our predictions for the season. We'll talk about some concerns we have going into the season. And towards the end of the show, we will do fill in the blank. So guys, we have gotten a chance to look at this team in the preseason, look at them in practice. We know what they look like on paper. Chris, in your opinion, are they as good on paper as they are on the court?
Not right now. I think that's going to take time. And preseason, the guys, I believe, the big three, I believe they played together 3 times throughout the course of that preseason run. So they like to get some more time to get accustomed to one another. We saw, after our talk, spoke with Kevin Love after the final preseason game. He mentioned he wants more touches on the block. So he's still going to be an adjustment period for him to start to feel comfortable. So these guys, they would have like Coach Black mentioned, they would have liked for those guys that played more during that preseason. So as of right now, I can't safely say that they're where they need to be right now going into the season.
And Joe, one thing, if you look at the schedule, there's not going to be a whole bunch of time to really get in the flow. No. You don't have a lot of patsies early in the schedule. You start against New York. New York has playoff aspirations. Then you talk about Chicago. Chicago's considered either the best or the second best team in the Eastern Conference. There's a trip to Portland mixed in there. So it's a tough schedule right out of the gate for this new look roster.
Yeah, Chris, that's a great point. I'm glad you brought it up because we've got all this hype and all this excitement about the team. And then right away, I'm not going to say buzzsaw, but all of the issues that Chris was just talking about some of the just chemistry and figuring out where everyone's supposed to stand, that's going to be a lot harder when you're playing the Bulls on the road and Portland on the road. And then even after Portland, you have a back-to-back in Utah. It's going to be a tough schedule. I mean, you could see this team that I'm going to predict will win the NBA Finals this year. They might start out 2-2. I mean, it's going to be rough early.
It was a busy offseason for the Cavs. They remade the roster. They went from lottery staple to championship contender in one offseason. It's interesting because it really started early. It started with the Cavs winning the draft lottery. They got the first pick in the draft. That gave them the rights to Andrew Wiggins, allowed them to use Wiggins as the centerpiece in the deal for Kevin Love. Kyrie Irving signs an extension. There are a lot of questions about that too, Chris, about Kyrie and his extension. Is he happy here in Cleveland? Will he re-sign here, or will he let this thing play out? That was really the first domino that fell that helped bring LeBron back here, right?
Yeah, no doubt about it. You think if Kyrie is not locked up here, even though LeBron, I do believe he wanted to come home, it was also intriguing. But the simple fact that if Kyrie is not, committed here, there's pretty much no chance LeBron comes here. Because LeBron right now, he has 5 or 6 prime dominant years left in this game. He's not going to come back just for Alonzo Gee. And whoever you guys had on that.
CJ
Miles, I can guarantee that he's not coming aboard. So Kyrie Irving definitely was the first domino to fall. Then, of course, when LeBron came, we see a couple more pieces come in. So it definitely was important.
Joe, speaking of LeBron, were you surprised that he did come here to Cleveland? Chris mentioned it. It's home, chance to undo the decision. But look, he went to Miami because he wanted to win championships. And Miami delivered on every single promise that they made for LeBron. They got him to the finals 4 straight years.
I think the day it happened, July 11th, I was really surprised. And now that we've lived it for these couple months, I'm not surprised at all because you've sort of seen the backstory fill in and you come to realize just for how long a return to Cleveland had weighed on LeBron's mind. And you see the way everything's fallen into place, and it makes sense. It makes sense. It feels right that he's here. But at the time, I was surprised, and of course it's been written, and it's true. Had the Heat won, the finals this year, we would not be talking about a LeBron James return to Cleveland this year. He would have re-signed with Miami, or not even opted out. I mean, who knows? But he would have stayed there to continue the dynasty.
So in that case, Joe thanks you because he's got a new job. I thank you because I get to watch good basketball again. It's been a long time since I've seen good basketball. And Chris thanks you as well because it has brought you here. When it comes to LeBron, though, Chris, when do you think he first started thinking, you know what, Cleveland, I could go back there?
I think You know, I think obviously the finals, losing the finals to the Spurs in the fashion that they did. That definitely, I think that was the major part when he's realistically started thinking this can be a possibility. But I think over the course of the last couple of years with Dwayne Wade, the way he set out the second game of back-to-backs,
right.
LeBron had to shoulder the load. He didn't sign up for that in Miami. He went in there, he wanted help, something he felt he wasn't getting in Cleveland during his first stint. Went over there, figures he has Chris Bosh in his prime. Dwayne Wade, at that time, was arguably the best shooting guard in the league. You know, people would go back and forth between him and Kobe. Wade started having health issues, knee issues. Some even questioned Wade's reluctance to go and play in those second games back-to-back.
Right.
So I think that had a weighing effect on LeBron as far as, am I really going to think about going to Cleveland or not? You know, I think it was the Spurs for the most part. But I think Wade has something to do with that.
I mean, that's such a good point. And to illustrate that, Dwayne Wade played 1,200 fewer minutes than LeBron did last year.
Yeah.
That is astounding.
Yeah, that's great.
And then when you consider how much more stress that puts on LeBron's body to have to play those kinds of minutes without his running mate, I mean, that's just more responsibility, that's more ball handling. It adds up, and I think Chris is right. I think he was frustrated by that.
And Chris, one thing about it, LeBron, Kobe, I think Kobe would thrive in that type of a situation because Kobe wants the ball.
Oh, yeah.
He wants the shots. He
It's like
wants
more
the
for me.
minutes. Yeah, more for him.
Yeah.
LeBron is a team guy.
Yeah.
While he is one of the most dominant scorers we've ever seen, he's probably even a better passer. And he's a better facilitator. He's a good teammate. And so while that may suit other players, for LeBron, I don't think he was down with that.
Cavs Roundtable here on cleveland.com. Chris Fedor, Joe Vardon, Chris Haynes. Any questions, any comments, go to the comments section at the bottom of the post talking about the big offseason that the Cavs had, really transformed the roster. And the other big piece, the third member of the big three, Kevin Love, comes here. He was in that blockbuster deal, Minnesota, Cleveland. Cleveland gave up the last 2 first overall picks, Anthony Bennett, Andrew Wiggins. Chris, there was a lot of conversation about whether the Cavs should pay that price for Kevin Love. Is he good enough to give up a guy like Andrew Wiggins, who was looked at as a future star? Do you think the Cavs made the right move?
They definitely made the right move. And I'm going to bring up that guy, LeBron James, again. He has 5 or 6 years of dominant basketball left to play. He doesn't have time to experiment.
Yeah.
There will be no time, there will be no point during his run here with Cleveland, his second stint, that he's going to be content with experiment. Starting from this year on to next year and years on, it's about winning championships. And so from that standpoint, Cleveland made the right move.
And when it comes to Kevin Love, ESPN, they've got their ranking system. They do it 500 to 1. Kevin Love ranked as a top 10 player in the NBA. So this isn't just somebody who got a bunch of points and a bunch of rebounds and made a bunch of threes because he was on a bad Minnesota team. This is one of the most versatile big guys, one of the best offensive big men in the NBA. He's right there in the conversation with Blake Griffin and LaMarcus Aldridge. And Chris Bosh brought that same kind of skill set to Miami, and we all saw how well that worked. When you talk about Dwayne Wade and LeBron, sometimes there were clashes, sometimes it was tough to get them to adjust their styles. But when it came to LeBron and Chris Bosh, Bosh was somebody who always fit well with LeBron, and Kevin Love should fill that same role, Joe.
Yeah, when I think about Kevin Love, I think about 2 things. First, I see him grabbing a rebound, turning around and throwing this ridiculously long outlet pass right on the money over and over again. I mean, Chris has written about this. He's called him a quarterback, and it's right. I mean, it's right. You know, Love is maybe the best in the game at that. That's the first thing. And the second thing, from almost a fan's perspective, I mean, we live in a town where it's always waiting for next year. I mean, we have a blog called Waiting for Next Year in this town.
That's right. Nice plug.
So this is a case where they are wanting to win right now. Not wait, not develop. Get the best guy for this team right now and try to win a championship. I think it's a no-brainer.
And it's funny because we consider him the third member of the big three, and that's just because of Kyrie and that's because of LeBron. But you did a story right around the time of Media Day, Chris, about just how much the trade for Kevin Love made these guys start to believe that, hey, we just went from playoff contender, Eastern Conference contender, to championship contender.
Yeah, Sean Marion mentioned, he said Kevin Love, that was the domino to fall where he was like, I'm coming. That showed players that this team is committed to, to secure, trying to secure a championship. So Kevin Love, you mentioned he's the third member. And the only reason he's the third member is because of the position he plays.
Exactly.
Because he really is. I think if you go down, most people, if they do a ranking of players, I think he would be above Kyrie Irving.
Oh, yeah.
But the fact that Kyrie Irving plays a position where he has to handle the ball and he dictates who gets shots and when he shoots, that kind of puts Kevin Love down that pecking order. So, but that's going to be the adjustment for him and adjustment for his teammates as well. LeBron James came out and said, hey, Kevin Love will get his touches. He's right. He will get his touches. So, will everybody else abide by that? That's going to be something to look forward to.
But the great thing about what the Cavs did this offseason, guys, they didn't just put together a big three and say, you know what, it's going to be all on you. You have to carry the load on offense. You have to carry the load on defense. David Griffin went out and said, you know what, I'm going to surround LeBron with a bench. I'm going to surround LeBron with other guys in the starting lineup so that he doesn't have to play 40 minutes a night. He doesn't have to play 82 games in the regular season. That's where Sean Marion comes in. Mike Miller was brought here. James Jones was brought here. So this is, they say it's not a big three, it's a big 15. In terms of team, top to bottom, this is probably the most talented roster LeBron's ever been on.
Yeah, I agree with that. I certainly agree with the point that this team on paper is ahead of where Miami was LeBron's first year there, and they wound up in the finals. The two players that you didn't mention that I just really like, I really like Dion Waiters and I really like Anderson Varejao. I know that they're the other two starters here, but boy, if you've got defenses worrying about the big three, Dion Waiters is a pretty good player to be left alone. And we've seen Anderson, how he plays on the floor with LeBron. That's basically why he's starting, because the guy he's splitting time with, Tristan Thompson, is also pretty good.
Yeah, and Joe brings up Dion Waiters, Chris, and I want to go there with you. Dion is somebody everybody knows about his attitude, his intensity, his aggressiveness. What is his role on this team, and do you believe that he can fit alongside the big three who are going to get a number of shots?
I think he can. I definitely think it's going to be an adjustment for him. I think it's going to take some time for him to recognize what his true role is. And the preseason is not going to do that. Everybody got on him. He's shot the most shots during preseason. Yeah. That's Dion. He shoots contested shots. Yeah. He shoots a lot of uncontested shots. That's him. So, but what I did like from Dion in the preseason, man, the boy can play some defense, man. He can play some defense, and I think if he stays committed to that, if he exerts a more energy on that side of the ball, I think he's going to be very valuable to this team.
Man, it's funny that you bring up defense, because when you talk about Dion Waiters, that's not something that you bring up. You talk about step-back jumpers, you talk about drives to the basket. I thought some people were going to start to call him Eon Waiters because he has no D.
Oh, wow.
He hasn't played D. Nobody's played D.
Did you just go there, Chris?
Yeah, nobody's played D on
You
this
were
team.
thinking about that for a while,
No, I wasn't. That came right off my tongue. Nobody has played D on this team, Chris, in the last 2 years.
Yeah, but I've seen Dion. I think he's a smart guy. First of all, I'm going to give him that. But he recognized that, my touches are going to go down the offensive end. But if I'm going to prove my mark, make myself a name with these guys, insert myself into the big four equation, then I'm going to have to do other things. And I've seen, man, defense, especially one-on-one defense, he's been pretty good. Now, he had a minor slump there against Derrick Rose, Chicago, but who isn't? Right. So I think he's going to have a fine season. And my concern, my worry is the offensive end, what he's going to do, how he's going to fare with those guys.
And Joe, you bring up Anderson Varejao. Yeah. He's going to get the nod at starting center instead of Tristan Thompson. That means Tristan Thompson goes to the bench. He's going to be asked to anchor that second unit. Do you think the Cavs are doing this right with Anderson Varejao in the starting lineup, given the chemistry, the relationship that he's got with LeBron?
Yeah, I think that's a good point. And I think that they had no other choice, just because it was glaringly obvious in preseason games that Anderson has a rapport with LeBron. Anderson is a better player when LeBron's on the floor. They just have a chemistry that maybe no other two guys on the team have right now. I really like Tristan Thompson. I've
Yeah.
seen him improve dramatically from his rookie year. And it'll be interesting to see how long this lineup lasts. But he's got an important role because the sixth guy, we have the league has an award for the sixth man of the year. I don't know if that's going to be him, but he's going to have to play big, important minutes.
Yeah. Can he be in that conversation, sixth man of the year?
It's very hard for a big
Yeah.
to win that award because they usually get that award to a scoring guard. And so, but he's definitely going to be, if he stays in that role, he'll be a top 5 guy candidate. And I think what Joe touched on, why Varejao got that start, Varejao plays extremely well with LeBron James. If he comes off that second unit, Varejao's not that same type of player.
Right.
I don't think, to me personally, watching the game, I don't think Varejao just beat Tristan Thompson for that position because Tristan Thompson averaged double-double over the course of the year. The course of preseason. He had a pretty good run. But I think Varejao's relationship and how he plays alongside with LeBron James made that an easy decision for them to start him over.
But Chris, I don't know how the rotation is going to go, but if Tristan Thompson comes off the bench and he's with that second unit, that means he's probably without Kyrie.
Yeah.
He's probably without LeBron. Is Tristan Thompson the kind of guy that can anchor that second unit, go out and get offense on his own and do those kinds of things when he's not surrounded by the best of players?
Well, he'll come in. The thing is, they won't just put him in as a second unit. It'll always be a time where he's in there with LeBron or Kevin Love.
Okay.
They'll keep those guys in. But you talk about scoring, it's not going to be that many opportunities for him to score. In order to be a six-man, to be a legitimate six-man candidate, you have to average over 10 points a game. That's point blank. He's not a scoring guy. He averaged 11 points being a starter the last 2 years. So that, it's going to be tough for him. But like Coach Black mentioned, those guys are interchangeable, Tristan and Varejao. I think he's going to ride the hot hand. Who's ever rolling at that time kind of go back and forth. And I don't think Tristan, he's too good of a player, has too much upside, only 22 years old, to sit on that bench. I think he'll still get 24, 25 minutes a game.
I think what you guys both said about Anderson Varejao, the relationship with LeBron, and how Andy can be made better just by the presence of Love, LeBron, and Kyrie, that makes all the sense in the world to me. And I understand that, and I think those are fair points. But I was surprised that it's going to be Andy in the starting lineup because Andy is used to coming off the bench. He's been in that role his entire career. Provide the energy, provide the hustle, go get rebounds. Tristan Thompson hasn't come off the bench since his rookie season. Yeah. And I know you just sit there and say, well, it's an NBA player, it's a pro, he can just hop in there and he can get used to it. When guys are used to starting and then get moved to the bench, that's a harder transition than I think some people realize.
Well, the reason why it would be an easy transition for Tristan, because he's one of the few guys where you look at him, Kenneth Faried, a couple of the guys that have a motor. They have a motor. Those guys, they see ball, get ball. He said that. I don't want to say what video he said that on, but he says that. That's what he does. So for a guy like him who just plays hard every single time, it doesn't matter. As long as he's playing, he's going to produce. Now, with that being said, with Andy Varejao, I can't harp on it again. He just plays well with LeBron.
Yeah.
Period. He just plays well with LeBron. You're going to get the best minutes and the most production with Varejao when LeBron's in there with him. I think it's pretty easy.
Sean Marion, Joe, a guy who's been a starter throughout his career.
Yeah.
He's never averaged less than double figures in terms of scoring. He averaged over 30 minutes per game last year in Dallas. He comes here to Cleveland. He knows he's not going to start. He knows that he's probably going to lose minutes, lose opportunities. How big do you think he's going to be coming off the bench?
Boy, he has to play well, especially early on, especially as they're trying to figure out everything else. He's a guy that is going to have to score. I think he's entering like his 18th or 19th season. He's been around
16,
forever.
Yeah.
It's been a lot, and he has provided those kinds of minutes and those kinds of points everywhere he's been. He's also, he knows this. He's on the tail end of his career, and he is going to have to find a way to produce those 8 to 10 points because they're going to need it.
The unique thing, Chris, LeBron's never really had a backup small forward that when he goes into the game, the team won't completely collapse. You know, in Miami, they didn't have that. They had to use Mike Miller at times, a small forward, Dwayne Wade, things along those lines. Who was the backup to LeBron here in Cleveland at small forward? There wasn't that guy. At least now you have a reliable small forward, somebody who has won a championship, been in big games, things along those lines.
He's definitely, just top of my head, the best backup small forward LeBron James has ever had. But let's keep in mind, when you're talking about LeBron, that's a big gap. We talk about LeBron's production, then going to LeBron. I mean, there's still a gap there. It's still, Sean is not the same player. But you talk about, sacrificing and minutes going down for Sean. I mean, I think he realized all of that when he decided to take less than $1 million to play this season.
Right.
So, I think he's prepared. He's focused on his task. But no, it's going. Sean Mary, like I said, he's definitely suitable. His scoring has come down a little bit because, range. He's not as athletic as he used to be. But yeah, I'll give you that. He is one of the better small forward backups that LeBron's had. But it's a huge gap there.
There are conversations right now going on internally with the Cavs. Anderson Varejao, possible contract extension, a decision to make on Tristan Thompson. I'm going to ask both of you this question point blank. Given the financial situation that this team is in right now, paying LeBron a ton of money, Kyrie a ton of money, Kevin Love, all those kinds of things, the more important player to the Cavs long term, or even short term, Anderson Varejao or Tristan Thompson, Chris?
I'll
let Joe go first.
You always have to go with the younger player. I mean, Tristan Thompson, of the two, I mean, you guys said it earlier, he's 22 years old. He's improved dramatically from his rookie year. And I think playing with LeBron and Kevin Love are really going to open him up to even more, more good things to come. I mean, Andy, obviously, right now today is the more important piece because they feel like he fits better with LeBron. But he's been around forever. I think that he would be interested in staying with the Cavaliers long term. I think there's more of a discount there. If I had to pick, I'd say Tristan.
All right, so if you're making that checklist and you're putting a priority tag on these guys, who gets it?
Tristan gets it.
Okay.
The fact that he's younger, right now you can arguably say, you can make the case that he's equal to Varejao, or maybe even better. It depending on who you talk to. He has more upside right now. And the simple fact of the matter is, LeBron loves that guy.
Yeah.
Loves that. Works with him, during the off season. He's one of LeBron's guys. So just from that standpoint, I would take Tristan. But you got to keep both of them. LeBron came here with the knowledge that these are the core group of guys. He came here for that reason. You got to keep those guys together. And I understand you got Kevin Love's deal coming up in the summer. Mike Miller also has a player option. The Cavs can keep those guys. Now, they will have to, pay some luxury tax. But I think that's the price you pay once you got a guy like LeBron James on this team.
Chris, do you think LeBron has made it known to David Griffin and Dan Gilbert, the guys that he values the most? And do you think LeBron is involved in some of these basketball roster-related decisions?
How would you explain involved in the basketball-related decisions?
Has a say in them.
Say.
Maybe not final say, but has a say in them.
Let me put it like this. They know his feelings.
Okay.
Let me put it like that. They know his feelings. He's definitely informed them of the guys he wants and the guys he wants to keep around. Let's I did a story on Mike Miller back in Miami. Miami cut amnesty Mike Miller. Right. Number one of LeBron's friends, good friends, but also a guy that produces in clutch. We saw that hit like 6 or something threes when NBA Finals appearance.
I mean, he was the other member of that free agent class in 2010. A lot of people overlooked that.
And so Miami waived him to save some money, the luxury tax. LeBron wasn't happy about that. Yeah. So I'm telling you right now, that's not going to fly this time around. He has identified to the organization the guys that he came to play with, the guys he wants. Now it's up to the organization to make sure they keep those guys around.
Biggest internal obstacle for this team, Joe, what do you think it is?
I think there are two. One is defense and believing in the defensive concept. And then the other thing, I think, is just an attitude. This team has to be hungry. And that's one of the reasons why I like Dion Waiters so much, because I think he brings the right kind of hungry attitude to the floor.
Hungry for shots.
I mean, I want a little bit, I want some fight. I mean, I do. I want a tough team.
Sure.
I'm not sure. I'm not standing here today questioning their toughness, but this is something I'm watching. I want to see how they play when the pressure's on.
Chris, for you?
I like that you mentioned that. Toughness. That was my main thing. I want to see how tough. It was good that they went against Chicago, Indiana, and Memphis in the preseason. Those are the 3 toughest teams when you talk about physicality that this league has to offer. And I seen them manhandling some of these guys out there. I'm not going to call no names right now because it's only the preseason.
Yeah.
But that's what I want to see because that's always been the approach teams took about LeBron James early in his career. Let's tough him up. Let's rough him up. Let's get in his head. Let's psych him out. My guy Deshaun Stevenson from my hometown of Fresno, California, nowhere on LeBron James's level. I had to mention that. Put that out there. Be quiet, Chris. I had to mention that. I'm just throwing it out. I'm just letting you know. Nowhere near on LeBron's level, but they found a way to try to get into LeBron's head.
Yeah.
And you saw that with Lance Stevenson try to do that, last couple of years with Indiana. So toughness. LeBron has surpassed that now. He's beyond that now. But these guys like Kevin Love, Kyrie Irving, Tristan Thompson, you want to see if they have what it takes to get past that physicality and take this team to greater heights.
Chris, there are a lot of really good things about Fresno.
Yeah,
Weather,
I'm one of them.
The ladies.
Yeah.
You're one of them, certainly.
Brooke Lopez, Robin Lopez. You keep
the
going.
Lopez brothers.
You keep going on and
the
on.
Carr brothers.
The Carr brothers, hey, keep
and
going.
you're taking claim to Deshaun Stevenson?
Because he's only relevant to the discussion we're having right now with LeBron James. When you talk about LeBron James' history, when we go back, you talk about rivals and players, like it or not, you're going to have to mention Deshaun Stevenson for about 2 seasons that he was all in LeBron's ear.
Yeah.
For what it's worth, I was born in Akron.
There you go.
There you go.
I don't know too many people.
So, Joe, the home of LeBron James and rubber.
That's right.
So I think when you're making the list of all the things
Somewhere in that
Akron is
order.
known for, I think you're right below rubber.
Somewhere in there.
You're right
Right.
below rubber. Eastern Conference overall, not as strong as the West. Everybody understands that. You look at the Western Conference, and there are some really good teams that might not even make the playoffs. Memphis might not make the playoffs. Phoenix might not make the playoffs. The Eastern Conference, it's weaker. Are the Bulls the only contender to the Cavs, or is there another one, Chris?
I like Washington.
Do you?
I do. I like those boys. If Bradley Beal can get back healthy, I definitely like what they've done. I think they might be an upgrade over last year. Trevor Ariza departed. I think Paul Pierce still has enough left in the tank. Besides that, it is Chicago and Washington, in my opinion. I'll be curious to see what you say. I think you have a wild card pick.
I have a sneaky team, actually, and I don't think enough people are talking about them. Made the playoffs for the first time.
Toronto?
No, it's not Toronto. Toronto's up north. They're in
Made the
Canada.
playoffs for the first time.
Made the playoffs for the first time last year in a long time. Defensive-minded team. They've got guys inside, guys outside, and they added, I think, a key free agent if he can keep his head on straight.
Oh,
Key,
Charlotte.
Charlotte.
I got you.
I think
I
Charlotte's
like
a
them.
team that's on the rise here.
I like them.
We'll see.
Joe doesn't like it.
I was
So it's like
I
that.
was startled on October 20th when we saw the Cavs play the Bulls and Derrick Rose.
Okay.
I was taken aback by how fast and how explosive and how healthy Derrick Rose seemed. If that is the Derrick Rose that we're going to see this year, I've got the Cavs beating the Bulls in the Eastern Conference Finals, but I'm telling you, they're going to be a tough out.
I agree with that. I think they're going to go through some growing pains early, though. So many people talk about, well, the Cavs, they have to gel together. They have to learn how to play with each other. They've got to reintegrate Rose on that roster, and they have to figure out how to play with a big guy like Pau Gasol, and I think that's going to take some time.
And that's definitely safe to say. And my concern with Derrick Rose is that, man, he looked, that was some of the best single game performance I've seen out of him in a while.
Yeah.
But the way he plays and the force that he puts on his body, the way he plants when he's about to do a jump stop or a dunk, you just worry, like, is that next jump stop, is that the last? Is that going to be his last? Because he plays with athleticism, he plays with burst. It's like Allen Iverson. He takes a pounding every single time. So you have to wonder, how long, is that sustainable? Is he going to be able to keep that up? Is he going to be durable? I hope so, because when he's in there, he's definitely great for the league. I wish him all the best, but that's a huge concern for me.
All right, here we go. Time to fill in the blank, all right? I'll say something, you guys fill in the blank.
Okay.
Ready to go? Blank is the Cavs' most important player this season. Joe.
LeBron.
I guess you got to expand on that right now.
The one, Well,
Yeah, you can expand on it.
We got the photos rolling up. You got to expand right now. Take some time.
okay. I mean, he's the best player in the league. He is the glue that will hold this team together. He is the team's best scorer. He is the team's best passer. He is the leader in the locker room, and there are some players on this team that have some growing to do in there, and LeBron's leadership skills will be tested early. He's the most important.
Chris.
Let me just go off the board then. Let's mention Kyrie Irving.
Yeah.
He has a huge responsibility as the floor leader and floor general of this team to make sure guys get involved and make sure guys are happy. And he's never had to worry about that before because he always talked about it. You know, he was always asked to score. Now, yeah, you're going to score a little bit, but you also have to distribute and keep guys happy. And so this is going to be his first real season of playing the point as a true point guard.
Cavs have 3 of the top 20 rebounders from last year. Anderson Varejao, Kevin Love, Tristan Thompson. Blank will lead the Cavs in rebounds this year.
Kevin Love.
Really?
Really?
Well, I mean, Tristan Thompson can go clean the glass. Anderson Varejao, you act like it's a no-brainer.
Hold on, Chris.
here.
Chris. Kevin Love is the best rebounder that we have in this game. He's the best rebounder we've seen in this league since Dennis Rodman.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Who else? Can you think of anybody else?
Not really.
Okay, no. That's what Kevin Love does. He crashes the board. He gets paid to do that. Yes, he does give you 20 points, but let's not forget, he gets about 8 of those points off of offensive rebounding. So, no, there is no doubt about it. It's all love when you're talking about the glass.
Joe?
Kevin Love.
Okay. I don't think so. I think I did enough. Chris, hey, stop just throwing out questions. Have your pick. Who's going to be leading team in rebounding?
I think it's going to be Kevin Love, too, but I wouldn't have been like, oh, no-brainer. I mean, Anderson Varejao is going to clean the glass a little bit. Same with Tristan Thompson. And Kevin Love, he's going to be floating towards that three-point line.
He doesn't want to do that, though.
Well, I know he doesn't want to, but maybe that's what the Cavs need him to do, similar to Chris Bosh. You think Chris Bosh loved his role in Miami?
Yeah, but Bosh was never a rebounder like Kevin Love is.
He had 10.8 in Toronto before getting to
Love
Miami.
had like 14 and 15.
Yes, you're right. He has led the NBA in rebounding before, but because Miami asked Chris Bosh to do something different, it took away his points, took away some rebounds, took away some block shots. I'm just wondering if maybe because the Cavs are going to ask Kevin Love to do a
You're getting yourself in trouble. Stop wondering. He's not going to be asked to do a different. He's a rebounder. He's going to be asked to rebound.
Right, but the 2 roles for Anderson Varejao and Tristan Thompson are what?
Defense.
Rebound and defense.
Okay. And the 2 roles that Kevin Love is being asked was what?
Space the floor and
I think it's rebound and then score and space the floor.
All right. The Cavs will have blank all-stars this season. Who wants that one first?
2.
Whoa!
Who gets left off, Joe?
I'm not sure. Just 2.
Whoa!
2.
They're going, they're definitely, man. Go.
2.
No, we can't leave them at that.
Yeah, I know.
You have to name names. Who's getting left off as of right now?
Just out of our big 3, our meaning here in the city of Cleveland. There's injuries. There's chemistry.
Okay, if all goes well, no injuries, who's getting left off?
Well, I'm not expecting all to go well. I'm leaving some wiggle room here.
Wow.
So you're saying 3.
All 3. Yeah, I think it's not even a doubt. You may even see all 3 starting in the All-Star game.
Could they get 4?
No.
No?
Do they have a 4?
Dion, maybe? You're high on Dion. You're high on Dion.
Hold on. Hold on.
questions.
Yes, I am high on Dion. I'm high on Dion as a very, very good player and a very serviceable player and a key cog to this team.
Yes.
But we're talking all-stars here.
I know. I'm just asking questions, man. Bradley Beal's going to miss 6 to 8 weeks with a wrist injury, so there goes one shooting guard. There aren't a ton of great shooting guards in the Eastern Conference, are there? Dwayne Wade might not play all 82 games.
It doesn't matter. He'll still get the vote. He'll still get the All-Star votes.
So no Dion.
Like you heard of Lance Stevenson in Charlotte? You just mentioned.
Any chance Anderson Varejao gets a nod? He's going to be starting. He might put up a double-double. There aren't a lot of great bigs.
You simply ran out of questions as a lot of part of the show.
I got a bunch of them. Just asking questions.
I mean,
People want to know.
I feel like if Derrick Rose plays how he plays, he will be voted in as the point guard.
Yeah, he will.
And then it will come down to how Kyrie responds. Does he stay healthy?
Oh, so it sounds like that's the guy that may be left off.
That's the question. I think Kyrie's a wonderful player, but You asked me who would it be if one of the three doesn't make it.
I just want you to identify 5 players. So it's Kyrie that you think possibly left off. I don't think there's any way any of those 3 get left off.
That's good news for the Cavs.
Don't yell at me for this. I'm just a man of a people.
It depends on what the type of question you ask.
I'm just asking questions that fans want.
Oh, you putting it on the fans now?
Yeah, they want answers to.
Okay.
I'm just the conduit.
Yes.
Blank will be the Cavs head coach in 2015-16.
I've taken most of the controversial ones first.
That's next year.
Yes.
God, we gotta give him another year.
Okay.
John Gruden.
We go through coaches a lot.
No, I understand that.
Browns, Cavs.
Hey.
Did we think Mike Brown was going to be gone after 1 year?
It didn't surprise me.
Yeah.
It didn't surprise me. If particularly think about how he ended his tenure with the Lakers.
That's right.
So no, that didn't surprise anybody. But something devastating, something.
There are big expectations.
There are big expectations, but I think it's going to have to fall beyond the basketball court. You know, we talk about internally with that team, fuse, coach not having the players' attention, things like that, in order for him not to get a second year. I think he does, regardless.
Spoelstra survived the Heatles. I see the same thing for Blatt. Like everybody else we've talked about in this show, early on, Blatt's mettle will be tested. It's going to be a kind of a rougher start maybe than we're thinking may be the case, and he will have to mitigate those circumstances. But I expect him to do just fine, and I certainly see him on the sidelines next year.
I'm not advocating anything. I want to make that clear. I'm going to state some facts here.
Okay.
Fact 1. Mark Jackson is represented by LeBron James' agent Rich Paul. Fact 2. LeBron James loves Mark Jackson and has spoken very highly of him in the past.
What are you alluding to over there,
I'm
Chris?
not alluding to anything. I'm simply fact 3. Dan Gilbert.
You just made up a fact right there,
Yes, I do. Fact 3. Dan Gilbert makes interesting decisions at times and sometimes reacts the way that a fan would react and gets an itchy trigger finger. And when Dan's not happy and his team is not living up to the expectations that he has placed on the team, he makes decisions. That's why Mike Brown was gone, because they were talking no more lottery. They were talking playoffs last year at the beginning of the year. Mike Brown didn't help them get there, and he was gone after 1 season. Crazy things happen in the NBA. All right, last fill in the blank, and then we're going to get out of here for the Cavs Roundtable. Blank will be the NBA champion this year.
The San Antonio Spurs will be the NBA champions. They bring back their whole team. The nucleus in place. Greg Popovich is the best coach that I have ever seen in my years covering NBA basketball. Barring injuries and health, I can't see nobody dethroning them.
I'm going with the Cavaliers. I've bought into the hype.
Yes, you have.
And I also I share and understand the hope for this region. They've been through too much for too long, from the drive to the fumble to the shot to the decision to Jose Mesa. It's just time for the tables to turn. There's going to be some kinks to work out, but I think the storybook finish happens this year. LeBron comes home, hoists the trophy.
All right. There it is. They'll tip off the season Thursday night in New York. By the way, I've got the Cavs winning the championship as well this
And
year.
you got Mark Jackson taking over next year.
I do not have that taken
In
over.
an interesting swing.
I'm saying that's a possibility. It's something to consider if things don't go as I expected them to go. But I do expect them to win the championship because it's the best roster that LeBron has ever played on. It's the best big 3 in the NBA. It's the best starting 5 in the NBA. And finally, it's a bench that can allow the starters to not log a lot of minutes, expend a lot of energy. And I don't see a lot of weaknesses on this team. I continue to look for a weakness on this team, and I just don't see a lot. I think it's one of the best rosters assembled in the last 20 years.
Do you see a scoring punch off that bench?
Yeah, absolutely. I think Sean Marion can go out and get you points off the bench, and I think Tristan Thompson can get you some too. Just rebound misses.
But can they manufacture points off the bench?
Yeah, I think so. I think their transition and their style of play will help them manufacture points off the bench.
Okay. I just asked a question.
And I have them winning 70 games too. That's the other thing. Thanks for all the questions, all the comments in the comments section. This has been the Cavs Roundtable. We'll be with you all season long. Cleveland.com/Cavs. The Cavs set to tip off what is expected to be a very, very exciting season Thursday night at the Q against the New York Knicks. For Chris Haynes, Joe Vardon, I'm Chris Fedor. Enjoy the season.